You ever have one of those moments where you think you've finally outrun the crazy, only to turn around and realize the crazy's been sprinting right behind you wearing yoga pants, clutching a clipboard, and driving a white SUV that probably costs more than your house? Yeah, that was me. Eric Drake, ex-crime scene investigator, professional hermit, reluctant main character in the saga of how not to retire in peace. If you'd told me 6 months ago that a homeowners association president would nearly drive me insane, I'd have laughed. But hey, joke's on me. Let me paint the scene for you. Last fall, I bought this old house tucked deep in the woods, 12 acres of stubborn Virginia hillside and trees so old they probably watched George Washington ride by. The place had bone, stone, and brick windows staring out across the valley, creaky porch that caught every sunset just right. I thought I'd bought solitude, peace, maybe a shot at sleeping through the night without dreaming of bloodstains and jury deliberations. At first, that dream held. I'd wake up, make slow coffee, watch the fog pull back from the pines, breathe deep, and remind myself I wasn't testifying in court anymore. The only drama was the wind and the squirrels squabbling over acorns. That lasted about 2 months. Then out of nowhere, I found a glossy HOA pamphlet wedged under my gate, like a threat dressed up as a welcome mat. You should have seen this thing. Welcome to Silver Bluff's community. Inside rules for everything. Mailbox colors, lawn gnome regulations. The exact length your holiday lights could be 30 feet and not a bulb more. I laughed. It was so absurd I figured it was a mistake. My house was a good half-mile from Silver Bluffs, that plastic paradise on the hill where the lawns looked fake and the houses looked copy-pasted. I tossed the pamphlet, didn't give it another thought, until she showed up. It was a Tuesday. I was tightening a porch railing, hands full of splinters and wood stain, when she appeared at my gate like she'd been summoned by the scent of fresh paint. Mid-40s, bleach blonde bob, yoga pants that screamed I own 3 Peloton, sunglasses so big you could see your reflection twice. She smiled a tight, I know something you don't kind of smile, and introduced herself as Karen Lomax, president of the Silver Bluffs Homeowners Association. Now I've sat across the table from murderers who smiled warmer. Karen announced in that chipper HOA tone that she was so glad we were fixing up our property. Your property, I asked. No offense, ma'am, but this is my home, not part of Silver Bluffs. She doubled down, claimed the neighborhood had historically included my land. We'd love to reinstate your property in the HOA registry, she said, like she was offering me a free car wash instead of shackles. I told her flat out not a chance. I'd checked every record before I bought this place. Sometimes records get messy, she said, that smile never slipping. We can fix that for you. I told her again, not happening. That should have been the end. But if you've ever tangled with people like Karen, you know they don't hear no, they hear try harder. Next thing I know, weird things start happening. At the post office, the clerk asks if I'm on the Lomax property. Then Joe, a Silver Bluffs neighbor I barely knew, corners me outside the hardware store whispering, "Is it true you're just renting Karen's, saying you're house sitting until she handles the paperwork?" I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my coffee. But when I got home, my mailbox was stuffed with HOA letters, all addressed to Karen, property owner. Reality itself was being rewritten one lie at a time. I started a folder. Photos of fake mail, every letter and pamphlet, even the weird looks from locals. Maybe it was paranoia from too many years in law enforcement, but my gut told me to document everything. Then things escalated. County records showed a request to update my property's ownership filed by a survey company I'd never heard of, listing Karen as the applicant. I called the clerk. She flagged it for fraud and promised to keep me posted. Karen, meanwhile, ramped up her campaign. I'd spot her SUV idling by my gate. Then one afternoon, a landscaping crew rolled onto my lawn, started trimming hedges and mowing like they owned the place. Mrs. Lomax asked us to tidy up, the foreman said. I told them politely but firmly to pack up and leave. That's when I noticed new signs nailed to my fence, private property members only, Silver Bluffs HOA. I ripped them down, installed more security cameras, and replaced the porch light with a flood lamp so bright it could tan a deer at 50 yards. A day later, a letter slid under my gate. No stamp, just delivered by hand. Violation of community standards, it warned. Fines to begin if I didn't conform. I called Karen. She picked up on the second ring, oozing fake sweetness. Eric, this doesn't have to be hostile. We're just trying to bring your home up to standards. It benefits everyone. I don't belong to your community, I told her, and the only standard here is my patience. I hung up before she could spin more nonsense. The tension built. One morning, county deputies showed up at my door. Someone had reported a dangerous individual living here without permission. I just handed over my deed, my title, a flash drive of security footage showing Karen's landscapers trespassing. "Looks solid," the older deputy said. "We'll note it." I warned him this wouldn't be the last time. And sure enough, it wasn't. I started hearing about Karen's past from folks like Todd, another HOA board member. Turned out she'd tried similar stunts before suing neighbors, faking boundaries, filing nuisance complaints. A pattern emerged. Karen would push and push, rewriting the rules until someone finally pushed back. That someone now was me. I lawyered up. My attorney, Linda Cross, was a bulldog sharp, no patience for nonsense. She had seen it all before: trespass, harassment, even forged documents. People like Karen crumble when the evidence piles up, she told me. Just keep building your case. She sent a cease and desist letter hand-delivered to Karen. Karen crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. A few days later, the nonsense went nuclear. I pulled up one afternoon to find Karen giving a tour of my house to 4 strangers, like she was a realtor. "Don't mind him," she told them, pointing at me. "He's just the caretaker until I finish the legal paperwork." I didn't bother arguing. I called the cops, showed them my documents, handed over the security footage, and watched as Karen screamed and shoved a deputy before being handcuffed and hauled away. Did that end it? Not even close. She posted bail and filed a lawsuit against me, claimed I'd occupied her property illegally, caused her emotional distress, and so on. Linda just laughed. "She wants to bleed you dry with nonsense," she said, "but we'll hit her back harder. Property fraud, harassment, defamation. She won't know what hit her." Meanwhile, the HOA board finally snapped. Todd told me they'd called an emergency meeting. "She's taking us all down with her," he said, voice tired. Turns out most of the board had known about her schemes but thought she'd stop before going too far. Lesson learned. Around then, the threats got personal. Red spray paint on my fence. "Get out, fraud!" Sheriff's deputies recognized the handwriting. It was Karen's husband. I realized this wasn't just about property lines or power trips. This was a full-blown crusade against reality, starring Karen and her family as the heroes in their own delusion. I fought back the only way I knew how, by piling up the evidence. I tracked IP addresses, subpoenaed digital records, and found that every fake document had come from Karen's own home network. I cross-referenced her past lawsuits, built a thick file titled Karen versus Reality, and handed it all to Linda. When we got to court, Karen's lawyer tried to present her as a misunderstood leader. Linda shredded that narrative in minutes. The judge took one look at the evidence, fraudulent filings, digital trails, the whole circus, and ordered an investigation into Karen's actions. For the first time, Karen's mask cracked. You could see it in her eyes the moment when she realized she'd lost control of the story. Soon, the county's digital forensics team confirmed it all. Not only had Karen submitted false documents, she'd tried to tamper with official records. The DA got involved. The HOA board ousted her. Police were called when she tried to fight it, literally tossing a chair in the meeting room. And finally, the sheriff showed up on my porch. Not to warn me, but to let me know Karen had been taken for psychiatric evaluation after her latest meltdown. She was a danger to herself and others, the sheriff said. For the first time in months, I felt a kind of peace. But it was a tired, heavy peace. Todd brought over bourbon, apologized on behalf of the neighborhood. Linda called with the news I could sue Karen for damages, legal fees, property devaluation. "I'm not suing her," I said. "She needs help, not another war." That's the real twist in this story, if you ask me. I bought a house chasing silence and healing and wound up in the middle of someone else's chaos. And the thing I learned, the bitter late-night truth, is that sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't a gun or a grudge. It's an idea nobody bothers to question. People who believe they're always right, always entitled. If nobody pushes back, they rewrite the rules for everyone. Maybe we let it happen out of politeness or fear or just not wanting to rock the boat. But the only way out is to stand your ground, even when it gets ugly. I put my old place up for sale, hung a hand-carved sign on the gate. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world is an idea no one bothers to question. Move deeper into the woods, miles from the nearest HOA, the kind of place where the only rules come from weather and wildlife. No more Karens, no more board meetings, just the sound of wind in the trees and the knowledge that I survived a war I never wanted. As I drove out of Silver Bluffs for the last time, I caught glimpses of neighbors through their windows. Some waved, some just watched. I didn't wave back. I'd had enough of the whole circus. But you know what? I can't help wondering if Karen had gotten away with it, if nobody had pushed back, how many others would she have steamrolled? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and starting another war? I'd love to hear what you think. Where's the line between protecting what's yours and showing mercy? Have you ever had to face down someone who tried to rewrite reality at your expense? Share your story below, or your take on justice karma, or just plain neighborly insanity. Because out here, sometimes the only way to keep your peace is to fight for it, one ridiculous battle at a time.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.